So I'm doing a lesson on inductive learning. This is an ELA and social studies lesson for grades 1 through 3. You could also do it for higher grades, but just change some of the content. So some of our objectives for this lesson are: student will be able to label and sort pictures into groups based off family traditions and customs. And then student will be able to discuss why they chose different labels for the different groups. So to start off this lesson, we want to go over some vocabulary. The two main vocabulary words that students might need some help on are group and label. For group, it's a collection of people, things, or ideas that are in one place or are related by characteristics. So you could say a group, if you had your students in front of you, you can say if you have 4 students sitting at one table, that's a group. They're a collection of people. So it's just a collection. It could be people, things, or ideas, and they're all could be either related by some characteristics. So maybe everybody in the class who has blonde hair is considered a group. Everybody who's a brunette is another group. And then our second vocabulary word is label. So this gives information about what the object contains, how to use it, or who owns it. So just like with our groups, if we separated people by maybe blonde and brunette, if they have brown hair, those are 2 labels. We're labeling 2 different groups. We're telling them all these people have blonde hair and all these people have brown hair. For our warm-up activity, prior to this lesson, students would have brought home a note asking families to send home 2 or more pictures from home that show their family engaging in some sort of activity, celebration, tradition, or holiday. We really would want students to bring anything that really showcases their family and what's important to them, because then you can also get to know your students better. During this warm-up activity, we're going to work as a whole class, and we're going to group pictures based off clothes. This is going to show the students how we are doing the group and label process. So we have all these pictures in front of us. How are we going to group them based off clothes? Because there's lots of different clothes. You could base it off sweaters. Do they dress nicely? Are they in costumes? Is there a certain theme to their clothes? Are they wearing swimsuits? Are they swimming? Are they outside using in certain clothes? So just to show some example of that, I have this Word document that has a bunch of pictures on here that I just found on the internet. Hopefully my students would have something a little different than this, and it would be a lot easier probably to group them based off clothes. But with these pictures, what I can already see is, so people who are outside. So in these 2 pictures, they're in swimsuits. So I could put them together in a group. Or I could do costumes. So it looks like right here, looks like we're celebrating Dia de los Muertos. Or in Halloween, they're in costumes. Or even in this picture, this looks pretty themed. Because it looks like maybe 4th of July. That could go in our costume because it looks like they're dressing up as a certain theme. I see 2 cap and gown pictures, so those could be grouped together. In these 2 pictures, we have long sleeve shirts. You could also do outdoor. These are outdoor clothes because they're doing an activity outside. Same with this one. This one also looks like it could be Dia de los Muertos, so I could maybe group that back in with my costumes. And all of these people look like they're dressed nicely, so maybe you could do more of a formal category. And hopefully that would show my students. So this is what we're doing. We made 3 different groups showing, 3 or 4 different groups showing that these have different types of clothes. After that activity, we would get into our actual small group activity. You will group your students up into 3 or 4, and then you're going to ask them to create 5 or more groups using the pictures. And you're going to base these groups off of the different traditions and customs that they see happening in the pictures. And it could be based off of how birthdays are celebrated, how Christmas is celebrated, how Hanukkah, how Dia de los Muertos. Are there any other holidays, different holidays that families celebrate? You're going to ask them to label each group. Each of these groups needs to have a name. What do all these pictures have in common? So that is something that if you're going around to each of the groups, you need to be able to ask them, and they need to be able to prove, so why are all these pictures with that label? So they should be able to tell that. After the activity is done where they have grouped their pictures into 5 or more groups, you're going to ask that the whole class is going to come up with sentences for each group. So there could be some different groups, but you're going to go with like maybe the most 5 common ones. Saying like, most families celebrate birthdays with cake. Or most families go fishing in the summer. Most families bake cookies at Christmas. So these are just all different examples of sentences that people could have, or the groups could have. It just depends on what kind of pictures that you're going to get with your students. But you are going to create these sentences as a group with the whole class. And then you're going to use those sentences while reading a story. So you want to find a book or a story or some sort of text where it involves different traditions or celebrations. So while reading it, you're going to ask your students to listen for activities that might relate to the sentences. So if they hear in the story that a family bakes cookies around Christmas or something similar to that, your student is going to raise their hand, and then they're going to explain how they are connected. So how is that story connected to the sentence? This way they're talking about the different customs and then really linking with the story to the activity that we just did. For the ending activity of this lesson, it is classified as synthesizing the lesson. So really solidifying the inductive learning of this lesson. So you're going to pair your students up again. This time you could just have 2 of them together. Create a set of pictures showing families doing, and you're going to ask them to create a set of pictures showing families doing activities that most families do. And then they're going to present their pictures and explain to the class. You could either use the pictures that you've already been given, or maybe you had extra pictures from the students that you could use for these pairs. Or you could have them maybe use a magazine to show families doing it, or even they can draw their own set of pictures to kind of make their own, show activities happening with families, saying that most families do this, and then they can present it to the class and explain to the class why they created this set of pictures showing this activity that the family might be doing. But that's the end of my lesson. Thank you and have a good day. Bye-bye.